Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
It's hard to give yourself coronavirus.
It sounds like a challenge.
This is like the perfect way to start the show. I always love this when we come off of the song and you know, you're like in the middle of a conversation. So, hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 371 for Monday, March 9th. I am joined here tonight by Mr. Rick.
You know, I was sitting in the bathroom the other day and I forgot my phone. So I didn't have anything to read, right? So I pick up the box of wine and it says...
You keep your wine in your bathroom?
Well, I was drinking it. And it said, serves 34 glasses. And I'm like, how do they know what a glass is if I'm using a straw?
I think a glass is a standard unit of measurement in the liquid beverage industry. It's probably like 8 ounces, right?
Yeah, that's a small glass.
I'm going to go with it.
We're also joined tonight by Robert.
Hi.
Yes. And Paul as well.
Hello.
Paulito.
So we're tonight's topic is Paul's favorite. We're talking about third party. Essentially what got us into third party in the beginning. Where we're at with it now, and then also what we're looking forward to or hoping for at TFCon in what is that? 2 weeks? A week and a half?
Can I add an addendum to that? How about what got us out of third party?
Oh yeah, that's...
Oh, I want to start with that, actually. I want to hear that story.
Oh, we got to start at the beginning.
No.
In the beginning.
Wait, so...
curveball. I wasn't ready for that.
Paul, I know that you've gotten a couple third-party legends here recently, so, when did you actually get out?
Maybe during... It was whenever 3 different piles of dipshits started making the same toy at the same time. Like, hey, it's Predaking. Hey, it's Predaking. Hey, it's Predaking. Hey, it's Predaking.
I think Devastator was the first. The Devastator Wars. The Predaking Wars followed shortly thereafter.
Well, there's been more than one Devastator War.
The Predaking Wars. That's
there
nice.
has been. Yeah, there was a second round.
Are we now in the Masterpiece Stunticons War? Or the Masterpiece Bruticus War?
The
Bruticus
War
kind of was already over. I mean... MMC's kind of like the last little bit, Oh no, I guess Fane's Toys hasn't released theirs yet, so...
No, like the Bruticus Wars never really happened because each company kind of did their own thing. There was a little bit of overlap there, but it wasn't like when the Devastators were happening and then the Predakings were happening. Everybody's like announcing at the same time, trying to cut off everyone's cells. The Bruticus was a little more spread out.
Yeah, I think that the third parties have probably tried to wise up a little bit, that it just absolutely kills their sales to do that kind of stuff.
That's why Keith from X-Trans Bots and KFC, he doesn't talk about anything anymore until it's about ready to go. I mean, like there's some old designs we know about, and he'll still talk about those. Like Coot or not Coot, sorry, their cup, whatever X-Trans Bots calls their cup. But that was announced forever ago. So some of that stuff kind of leaks out still. Or trickles out, rather, but like newer stuff he just vaguely hints at. And then Fans Toys waits to drop CGI renders as soon as anybody else announces something that they haven't done yet. Just to try like, no, don't buy theirs. We'll do one later in like 30 years. We promise, guys. It'll be so good.
Rick, are you actively filming an episode of Cut the Tape?
I thought that's what we were doing. I thought we were doing that. Sorry, guys.
So yeah, I mean, I think third party has been around for a pretty decent while now. At this point, when was the first one?
I want to say the first time I saw third party at mass retail, at like it was a OTFCC. That was 2003, 2004, and it was that Optimus Prime trailer for the Classics Optimus for the Voyager.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, though. I thought the Unicron.com Beast Machine stuff came first.
Oh, true. So there was an evolution. There was the Unicron.com Beast Machines weapon set.
They had it for Cheater. They had the stand for Black Arachnia.
Yeah, they had the stand for Thrust, right? And then you could say the natural evolution led to Cliff Jumper upgrade kits for the Classics Bumblebee.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then the Fans Project Commander. What'd they call that?
The City Commander.
City Commander. To me, that's what really I thought. Like all the rest of them were kind of like going up a hill. And I thought when they did City Commander, that was just like, this is a whole new level now. And in retrospect, I mean, I finally sold the toy like last year or the year before. But I mean, it's really not that great, but it was like, holy crap, it's an Ultra Magnus with armor we can finally put on, We were thirsty for it. And so it was kind of I don't know, I think it really kind of like one of those big ones where a lot of people bought that. I mean, I think a lot of people kept buying more and more of it, but I feel like that's one that really blew up. And then I feel like TFC's Devastator was when that
was
next
Big
big
Toys
jump.
Giant first before TFC's?
No, it came out around the same time.
Time.
But Hercules came first, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the first one came out, but Giant might have finished first because it did the two packs of the yellow ones, which I still have.
Yes.
And those came out first, and it was nice. Like, oh, cool! I can get a yellow one, I can get a green one, kind of. But then they had, I think the first full figures was Fans Projects, like that not Springer they had.
It was a Springer, yeah. I did a video review for TF Source on that thing, and that was like the first full on third party figure, and it was pretty cool at the time.
It was amazing at the time.
Yeah, it's pretty crappy now. I mean, it's just so funny how quickly that stuff just gets leapfrogged at this point.
I finally parted with it as well, and then not too long ago. But I wanted to keep it just for nostalgia reasons, just because of how kind of important it was in a way. And it was still like a neat figure, and it doesn't feel like any other figure. It has a very just the texture, the way it's made, the way it's assembled, its aesthetic. It it has no place in my collection today, but it was a pretty interesting piece for the time.
So that was the first third party piece I ever got to touch. So when that came out,
Hasbro?
I was at Hasbro, yeah, and the company line.
Can anybody else hear Rick?
Of course, now his video was choppy before, and then he's like, "Should I reboot?" And I'm like, "No, your audio's fine." And of course, now your audio's bad.
Hasbro just jumped in and was like, "Cut it! Cut the audio!"
I'll reboot.
Okay.
Oh, we heard you there. I think whatever your mic is just changed, but
yeah, it might have been your mic or something.
I remember. See, the thing about City Commander was it just showed what was actually possible. The thing that we wanted to have done was actually possible, and then came Protector after that.
It's the Rodimus upgrade kit for anybody who didn't know that turned him into I don't know, something.
Rodimus.
The real big one, and I'm remembering this all through my doing those TF Source reviews because that's when I was doing it. When I remember I got the Fans Project Bruticus upgrade before anyone had it, like a week before, and I made a video and it was all crazy and everyone was freaking out, and that I still love the silhouette of that toy. I think it's very, very cool, but that is still somewhat of an up. It's
a half upgrade. It's in the middle. because you need some official figures, and then it's like, okay, we're going to supplement with 2 extra figures and some add-on parts and stuff.
But Defender was the first one where it wasn't an add-on. You didn't need to buy Hasbro's.
And that's the Springer for.
Yeah, you didn't have to buy like an official product to like make use of the unofficial product, and that was like, I think a line was crossed there, or I mean, it was different, is what I'm saying.
It was a notable jump. Like I remember
it was cool. It was notable, and then those Insecticons came in. It was all fan. We're talking about all Fans Project stuff at this point.
Who's rest in peace. I remember when TFC Hercules started coming out, and I was at BotCon, and like a couple of them were out, and it was before BotCon, had the no 3P rule, because 3P wasn't big enough there yet to get an official stance, but it was getting there. And I was checking them out on the dealer room floor, and I remember Pete, working for Fun Pub. I was like, "Oh man, that's so cool! I can't wait to get it finished." He's like, "I don't think that's going to happen." And like, boy, were you wrong, buddy. Like, he could not have been more wrong. Not only did it get finished, it's like just exploded beyond belief. Zeta's Unicron is the only thing I know of that even, ever got anything from Hasbro, period. There might have been
I gear.
There's a few.
I know Rick talked about it on one of the other shows.
There's the G2 Ramjet, right?
Yeah. I think their Seekers and their Ramjet got like a cease and desist.
Oh, were those the knockoffs from my gear that were actually like knockoffs, or
pretty much, yeah.
Like they were upsized or something?
No, I think they were the same
just
mold.
Coneheads.
Yeah, they were just
versions of
Oh, that's right. They took the MP mold and made Coneheads out of it. We're talking about those, the BB-07 or what, or maybe they were iGear, or I can't remember. There was a lot of different stuff done. There's
one more. It was before Masterpiece MP13 Soundwave came out. There was another Masterpiece style one that was coming out. It's called Sonic Wave or something. I have it on my blog.
No, that's Fans Toys. It was their acoustic wave. They canceled it because the Masterpiece was announced. And that's now coming out again. They've redesigned it and they're redoing it. Like, it still has like FTO2 or whatever, because Quake Wave was their first.
Yeah. Okay. So, I do recall like Quake Wave and their Soundwave kind of being around the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, then speaking of Quake Wave, that was like the first original Masterpiece figure, right?
Yeah.
That like really kind of like made everyone go, "Holy shit!"
I'll be honest with you, unpopular opinion. I always thought that toy was overrated. I had it, and it's not like it was like terrible or anything by any means, but man, like sliding the legs out was just super difficult. Like, I always thought I was going to break the toy, and even then it was, using all my force to separate it. Like, it wasn't bad by any means, and the line has shifted away from that aesthetic, many years ago. I always thought it was just a little overrated. But yeah, it was definitely another one of those.
As is every Fans Toys release, though, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've had. I have several Fans Toys products, and I think I have almost one of every mold they've done. If not one of every mold they're done, none of them are perfect. They're all either like terrible to transform, or the aesthetics kind of suck in some way, or
I think, is Rick back?
I was actually adding Jim on because I think Rick said his computer died, that he's going to be a while. So.
Okay. Man, I really want to hear. Like his view of all this stuff.
Well, Rick did an episode about Hasbro and third party and all that like a while back.
Yeah.
I can't remember which. I have to go back because I can't remember which number it was. But
it was last year.
Yeah, it was really informational, and it was really good. So I'll have to post that in the notes once we're done, because I
would love to recap though in real time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He'll join on eventually, but.
And we do have playlists on the site, and so I have all the TFYLP 2018 to 2019 episodes are in one playlist, and I started a new 2020 playlist so that you can kind of narrow down a little easier, to help out, especially because we got so many shows out now.
We should make cast member playlists too. Like, here's every episode with Rob Simmons.
Hell no. I ain't doing that. The playlists I have set up now are automated. That's why as long as we name them consistently, they'll get popped into the correct playlist. So I don't have to screw with it.
Well, we should start tagging the videos with the cast members.
I don't think you can tag.
Yeah, you can.
Can you?
I'm sure we can
Just make
figure
a
it
tag.
out,
Just make a tag, and then we search on the tag.
I'm sure people don't care.
Yeah.
This is not important.
Anyway, sorry.
So getting back to third party, I mean, the thing I think is kind of interesting is that the move, back in the day when, Fans Project was king, where it was really kind of all about supplementing your Hasbro Chug collection at the time. And so it's like, who's the characters that Hasbro's probably never going to do? Like, I mean, they're never going to do a Springer. They're never going to do, whatever. And so, of course, now they're releasing a lot of those. They still haven't done a Monstructor or Dino King. But yeah, so, like, that was kind of like the move where they're trying to, like, help fill in your collection at the time. And then, once all the Masterpiece came out, once third parties started switching to Masterpiece, like, you just saw this mass shift of, like, everyone selling off their Chug collections and getting into Masterpiece at the time. I guess, what year was that? I'm trying to think if that was, like, I mean, I guess it's kind of been happening, but I felt like it was really big around, 2012, 2013, something like that?
Yeah, it's the movie syndrome. All these people were inflexing into the brand. And
it's one of the third party, the kind of the base of the topic of, why go to third party is always because Hasbro's not making it or Takara's not making it. I think that's, Zaldron hit the nail on the head, like, early on in the chat, is the best way for, he didn't say this in so many words, but the best way to kill third party is for Hasbro or Takara to make it, and I kind of wonder if Hasbro hadn't done classics as a filler line in, like, what was it, 06 or 07, because that was just a filler line, which all of a sudden kicked off us wanting more of these characters in a classic rendition. And now, here we are, over a decade later, and Hasbro is now, like, full force into the redoing G1 characters over and over, and, like, just more and more based off the way the toys originally looked or the cartoon originally looked, which, a decade ago wasn't the case. We got a cartoon line, and then we started getting movie lines. We didn't get this collector-oriented, fictionless line. That was a pipe dream. And then finally, I feel like I guess it was really, like, the movie line was out, and then they started doing stuff that fit into that, like with the reveal of the Shield, we got, like, Trax and Perceptor and, some of these dudes. So that, like, they started kind of, like, giving us little tastes until eventually we got around to where it's like, okay, Generations is now a line. And now we're going to do Combiner Wars, because I think one thing Rick said on that show was like, oh man, like, Hasbro paid attention to the third parties chucking out these huge expensive combiners and said, we can do that and get some of that pie. And of course they did. They did it, at a cheaper price point, and just really started filling the gap that was in that market. And then, as the Masterpiece line of third party broke off, I felt like a lot of collectors went either all in on Masterpiece or all in on Chug, or some people just collected both. They started tucking it all in bins.
Well, and I think it's kind of interesting, too, because really, some of the original third party, you could say, I mean, a lot of them were really unique designs. They weren't, I mean, like, they homaged the character, but it wasn't something to where you're like, oh, well, that's definitely a Hasbro design. Like, I can definitely look at that, and that is that is certainly, whatever character. But like, they were kind of their own thing. Like, there was a lot of
artistic... Because that's how Classics was at the time.
True. Yeah, there's a lot of artistic license with it and whatnot. The same thing as Classics, too. But, now, I'm really curious, too, like, whether or not, Hasbro, would try to go after them a little bit more, considering that it's much closer to the, the source characters.
Yeah, it's another case of Rick touched on that. It's just one of those, the money's not there. Is right. It kind of like what he got to? I guess obviously it was there for Unicron, enough for them to, like, at least put on enough pressure to halt it until they got their thing funded. And now I suspect they don't overly care anymore. hearing at least not as much about Cell totally not Zeta's Unicron design.
Well, and I think too Hasbro doesn't make Masterpiece, right? Like, I mean, they do the movie Masterpiece, but they're not like the G1 Masterpiece. Like, that's Takara, right? So
they're not the driving force behind this,
right? It's a different.
Hasbro's like, we'll put a sleeve on that and sell it here because of brand unity, but what the hell is that? They don't know. Which isn't honest. They did that really shitty repaint. They know who it is, but they're not pushing to get that out on the shelf.
So whereas I would say, kind of like what you touched on, the the new designs that they're doing with Siege and Earthrise and Combiner Wars and all that really is a shot across the bow to Fans Project directly and some of those other companies where, I mean, talking to, some of the people that are, whatever, no Fans Project, like they're like, yeah, like they're not getting into, like, the reason they're not doing this is because they're concerned about the demand because Hasbro, essentially upped their game, and Hasbro's able to produce a figure for, $30 or whatever, that Fans Project, it would cost them $80 to sell or whatever. And so it's just not going to work out for them. So, I mean, Masterpiece is obviously a whole different ball game, but I mean, the prices and whatnot, like, there's, ironically enough, I think that third party is actually a little more competitive than Masterpiece, than Takara these days. But at the same time, I think Takara's kind of upped the parts count and a lot of that kind of stuff. So
Takara's really upped their game, but it's shown that it's left some gaps in the market. Like, we saw with the Masterpiece Optimus Prime Wars, almost as it were. Where, that figure is amazing, it blows stuff away. But some people wanted a cheaper alternative that still had that cartoon accurate style, and so there's two other alternatives out there for you. So go to town. They revealed their Masterpiece RC. I guarantee you, there's a lot of people that are gonna be like, nah, I'm just gonna stick with Fans Toys Rouge. They're never gonna transform it. They probably wouldn't transform the Takara one anyways, and they like the aesthetic better. And they're just going to stay with it and be the end of it. I'm the type that. Hey, Jim.
Hey.
I'm the type that if Takara puts it out, I'm going to switch.
I'm getting no audio.
There it is. Yeah, if Takara puts it out, I'm probably going to switch. So like I'm going to get the Masterpiece RC, and I'm going to see how it is before I decide what to do with Rouge. But I can't imagine I'll keep Rouge.
Well, in the past, like, I've always kind of definitely done, like, third party for me a lot of times was a placeholder before the Takara one would come out, right? But I kind of feel like with the Make Toys Seekers, like, that was one of the first figures that I got, and I was like, this is substantially... Now, I know MP11 is like a super old mold at this point. And Takara, I am sure is
once we get Seeker 2.0, it'll be different.
Right. I'm sure that Takara will release something that one-ups what Make Toys did with their Seekers, right? But like that was the first time. And then there's been some other ones that they've done, some other figures that Fans Toys have done, where in MMC, where you're like, like, how much better is the what is it? Fans Toys, their Galvatron, was it Sovereign? Is that right?
Yeah.
The fan, like, how much better is Takara going to be than that?
That toy's still pretty not fun. It's not as bad as most of Fans Toys' other movie designs, but it's an amazing looking piece. And I mean, it's not the worst transformation, but it's definitely got some parts that are like, I'd rather not do this. I think the only one that Fans Toys has done that I've kept over the Takara one is the Hot Rod, and that's because I think the aesthetics on Masterpiece Hot Rod are that bad. I mean, and he's not terrible. I got the repaint they did where it was in the Sunbow colors or whatever, and that one looks really cool, and it's pretty and it's a really fun toy, which is the worst part. Like it's a great transformation. It's a lot of fun. And the Fans Toys one is kind of, it's not the worst, but it looks so much better on the shelf. than the Masterpiece does, and there's just no way around it.
Well, the thing I'm curious about, like I know Jay Zachary touched on it, about this whole cycle of constantly upgrading, and so this has happened a lot in third party because they've released a lot of the same characters over and over again, and then it's kind of happening with Masterpiece as well, and I feel like it's like third party almost kind of takes away from the Masterpiece a little bit because, like, if there was no third party RC, we would be really excited. We're like, oh my god, this is amazing. But the fact that we already have two, you're like, oh, well, like, I already got this twice over. Like,
I mean, that,
this
that
is old
damages
news.
the brand. That's why it's not supposed to be that way. There's not supposed to be alternatives to this stuff because there's only one license holder. I'm sure you are, but there's not supposed to be, and that's not how business works.
What's the disappointing thing is that Takara is letting itself make it even a question from the fact of a design standpoint. Like, that RC doesn't look correct, and we all know it, and it's not like it's not fixable. So why would they do that? Like, it's like two other companies have done the aesthetics better, and it's not unfixable. So I don't understand why they would do that in the
I've
first
also
place.
heard you talk about how awful those fucking toys are.
MMC Zazela is
so
great.
what do you?
Well, it depends on the company
hand or the
though
right hand?
too.
The sculpt is awesome on Fans Toys. That's the thing, and these are mostly display pieces that you fiddle with a few times. Now, I love Takara engineering, and even when people are like, "Oh man, like Hound is terrible" or whatever, I'm like, I think that's a fun toy. I think MP44 is awesome. I was able to transform all these without instructions, but I take my time when I play with them, and so it means I need more time, when I want to sit down and play with them, or I might transform them over several days. Like, when I want a 10-minute work break, fiddle with it for a bit, and then put it to the side and work on it later. Fans Toys Rouge is actively unfun. I think that the car engineering will be really fun.
Actively unfun.
It's actively unfun. It causes you pain.
Nice.
But I can't imagine why Takara would have the aesthetics on it that way when it's so close.
But I think, again, like, third party has taken chances
Deadlines.
where Takara was not willing to take chances. Like, in the beginning, a lot of this whole Masterpiece line in general, they didn't know it was going to sell. And so they want to put out the main characters. They want to put out the ones that they know they can cross-sell with the car collectors and whatever. And they're not going to take risks. And so if you want a complete collection, you're not going to ever get that from Takara, like, at least in the Masterpiece. Like, I guarantee you, like, you might get most of it, but there is no way that you're going to get all of season 1 through 3 from Takara. It's not going to happen.
I don't think we'll even get all of season 1. I mean, they're not going to do the rest of the Dinobots. Was that season 2?
Season 1.
It was, yeah. Like, they're not going to do those. We could use a new Grimlock if they were at this point, just for the aesthetics, even though the original Grimlock mold is still a fantastic toy. But yeah, it's definitely a line filler. But I could see some people already aren't going to upgrade RC, for example. Some people didn't upgrade Hound, even though I think Masterpiece Hound is just a great figure, even though there were some QC issues, obviously. I didn't have it, but I know some people did. But like, I think when they do if they ever get around to doing a Jazz, who knows if they will, right? I think a lot of people are just going to stick with make toys. It's a solid figure. It's a fun figure, and it looks good. I don't know. Would people upgrade it? That's a big question. Or switch it out.
But yeah, I think, Jay Zachary makes another good point too, and I think a lot of people are like this, myself included, where it kind of helped us push us into Masterpiece. Like, getting those third party, whereas if we didn't get that, we'd probably be like, well,
we'd be bored of the line.
Yeah.
We didn't get anything.
Yeah.
Like, 2018 had no G1 releases, new G1 molds, period. That's ridiculous.
But I do think it impacts it now, though. I think the fact that, like, third party's pretty much done, like, most of everyone, like, they're on the combiners now, and they're getting pretty close. I mean, there's there's season 4 characters they haven't done and things like that, like stuff past the movie. But Yeah, I do think it probably impacts it now because I think that there's a lot of people that are like, well, I already have an RC. Do I really need to spend the money to upgrade? But I do think originally when MP was kind of getting off the ground, I think that kind of helped create more excitement and whatnot. At least that was my experience of myself.
I would definitely agree with that because, we're collectors. We like to buy things. That's what we're doing with our money. That's what we're doing in the hobby. And saying, oh man, you're like, well, you can buy 2 figures. It's not really a collection. That's not much to chase after. But knowing that, oh man, look at these other guys. They're all doing all these just interesting things, and they're all kind of got their own take on it, which means each company has its own kind of experience in a way, and really help flesh out some lines where if it was just a Takara, man, that'd be a much different picture. I don't know if I'd be as interested in it.
I mean, I think if Takara wanted to get rid of third party, from them, that they would start ramping up releases and have releases more often. I think that just the fact that they're releasing, what would they have a Masterpiece figure like once every 3 months or something like that? I mean, I think
which is a huge step up.
Yeah. I mean, we're still getting a fair amount, but I think if they released a new figure like once a month, like if they alternated between movie, Beast Wars and G1, I think that they would just kill third party. I think
they could do it. I don't think they have the capability to produce designs and people and engineering and manufacturing to do it. I think it's an uphill climb for them.
I think Masterpiece line is just a boutique thing. I bet it hardly makes some money. I bet they just do it because of the design. Like it's now just something they almost are obligated to keep doing.
Given the price on the figures, especially as expensive as they've gotten recently, like they can't really ramp it up too much, because you're going to price your people out. Like they got to make sure people have money to buy it. Like look at Solo Chogokin. It doesn't put out, 20 figures a year. When a new Solo Chogokin comes out, they're kind of events. Even though that line's put out like over 70 figures or 80 figures, I don't know what the numbering's up to. I think Lion Voltron was like 72. I think GX 72. But
yeah, I think you could be right though, Paul. That it could almost be more of a way to promote the brand. More than it's like it's not really making them money. It's just that people think of Takara's making good figures because they're doing that, or Bandai's making good figures. Meanwhile, most of the money that they're making is the junk that they're just spitting out at the stores. The plastic crap that's $30 a pop.
I mean, they might be making like $5 per figure or something. Like that is nothing.
Right.
That's why MP44, they raised the price. They're like, okay, guys, this was cute for the last 10 years. Let's make some money.
Yeah. So, Paul wanted to talk a bit about what got out of the brand, and he, mentioned to him it was all the infighting on them, and I think it's definitely like the amount of drama in third party is eye-rolling.
It's more than that. It's more like I'm a completist and I'm meticulous about releases, and when I realize there is no rules there's no way to ever be done. Like, oh man, if I collect Devastator and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get the third party Devastator because then I'll have that too, and then now there's 5 more of them, and then it's like whoa, okay, that's not really in the box that I'm living in.
The thrill is gone.
Just like there's no. You're always in fear of, God knows, another $1,000 figure coming down the pipe, followed by another one. And at least, sure, Hasbro and Takara can do the same thing, but they're not going to do that. Instead, it's going to be like a $20 figure. Big fucking deal. I'll go buy that any day if I need to. But I can't buy another $200 figure every 3 months just to tick the box in my brain. So I destroyed the box.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said about that because, obviously collecting third party can get, really expensive really fast. Like,
well, what did Jay Zachary say here? This statement: if it was just a car, I'd own a house instead of a collection. Lol. Think about that, Jay Zachary. Maybe you don't like third party. You could have a house.
Why not both?
So there was a guy, I remember, I can't remember who it was, but there was some dude that got in deep, literally bought everything that was out there. Like, whatever time it was. This was a couple years ago, right? Literally bought like $6,000 in like one shot of figures, like every third party or whatever.
Was his name Lucas Bachelman?
No, it wasn't me. I think. But anyway, so this guy did this, bought it all on credit cards, right? And then his wife found out, and literally like 2 months later, liquidated everything because his wife was like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, you can't afford this. Like, this is, you literally just ran up an entire credit card, limit or whatever, buying."
Was this on like a TFW thread or something, or a Facebook thread?
It was in Facebook, yeah.
That is the quickest way to lose the collection and the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We live with neither. I think that some of that kind of gets into like the unhealthy habits we have. Like, no joke. Like if you're buying something just to check a box, you've already lost. You've lost the game. Not that there's really a game or anything here. There's no winners or losers. You should buy things you enjoy, not to check boxes. And I understand some people will get that dopamine hit from checking that box, that mental box. But, kind of what drove you out of third party, Paul, is what drove me away from Hasbro. Like the other side of that coin, because with the 2007 movie, like, oh man, all of a sudden we're a lot more popular. We started getting so much more product. I used to buy one of every mold, and then, any repaints I thought were interesting and remolds I thought was interesting. And then, like, it just started being so much to own, and I started filling up space, and I was buying a lot of stuff just because. And then FunPub was putting out tons of figures every year, and I, like, seriously just disliked half of them. I didn't like the decos. I thought they were bad. I thought the character choices were bad. And the other half I loved, But I was just buying so much out of obligation, and it just kept going. And then Combiner Wars hit, and I was like, oh man, it's these guys that already have these cool third-party versions of that are more collector-oriented, as opposed to mass retail-oriented. And I just was, and there was like 5 toys in Combiner Wars. There's like 200 toys in there, and they're based off 5 toys or something. It's like, here's our truck mold, here's our plane mold. Oh, no, it's repainted 800 times, which is fine.
I like that.
Oh,
like that,
a lot of people
consistency. I know what to expect.
A lot of people did. To me, it was the exact same experience over and over again, and I wasn't interested in it.
On the bright side, we got a Computron. You got to give them that.
Yeah.
I mean,
which I think technically came after the third-party Computron. So.
Oh, sure.
The Make Toys Computron also got discounted to no end, and it's an amazing-looking figure, but it's one of those where half of those figures are terrible to play with, and combining it's terrible. 2 or 3 of them are fun, but several of them aren't, and it'll make your fingers bleed.
One little quick anecdote is I would and still would like to. That's the same statement, but I want to finish that that SG version of that thing.
Oh, they put out like 2 figures.
Oh, yeah. That's never gonna happen.
I know.
Like, not in a million years.
I still got those limbs. I will follow.
So what I would suggest at this point is getting a spare like Computron and getting someone to paint up those other figures, because I can guarantee you that Make Toys is never coming out.
Jason will do it.
Probably not. I'm not getting the custom of a third-party toy, guys. This is sacrilegious as it gets.
I mean, if you think about it, isn't a third-party toy in a way a custom of sorts anyway?
No, because a custom,
because it's not an official product.
Both suck.
No,
and they're obviously fans.
It's a custom if you take an official product and someone is hand modifying it. Otherwise, it's not a custom. it's those are done by hand, and it's again usually something produced. But
oh, we have to have a shout out to Computation King.
no, no.
Nero brought it up.
I tried to silence it. That toy just wiggled on Anna's shelf right now.
I was gonna say you better watch out. Like Anna will somehow swoop into the podcast just to show it off. Oh.
But no, that just like the avalanche of product made me really sit back and decide what did I need to do, and the answer was less is more. And I had to decide, the way to get less is more. One of those is, I really enjoy the look and handling longer term over what ends up being more expensive pieces. And plus, since I budget out my toys and I spend, a net amount each month, it's fewer purchases, but, I think I get nicer looking things for what I'm doing with my collection. Other people are doing other things with their collection, and that's great. There's stuff for everybody, do I wish Masterpiece was cheaper? Sure. That'd be wonderful. But, I've built my collection around that style and I still pick up some Chug stuff, but it really pushed me out to where I couldn't have it all anymore. I didn't have the room, and I didn't have it in my budget to buy what I really am excited for, which is Masterpiece and third-party Masterpiece, and everything Hasbro was cranking out. Something had to give, and that's what gave for me. Whereas, like, I feel Lucas, you and Paul, it sounds like y'all fell on the other side of the tracks, where I think you've mentioned before, kind of what got you out of third party, Lucas, was you wanted things that you could just fiddle with quicker, and you enjoy that more, and you get more enjoyment out of it. So,
well, there still are companies, third party, that are releasing figures like that. Mastermind Creations and Planet X is still holding the torch. So they're still giving it a go. So I still have a collection of those. I think for me, I like to have unique representations of all these figures, like Paul said, same thing with Combiner Wars and whatever, where it's like, oh, I like to see, just different takes on a character. Like, I think it's incredibly boring if everybody would release a super G1 accurate, whatever it might be, Optimus Prime or something like that, because it's like, it's all the same figure, it's nothing new and all that. Whereas, when Make Toys is doing their Cross Dimension line, or MMC's doing their line that's homaging the IDW characters and whatnot, like that's really neat and something different and something you're not going to get from Hasbro more than likely, on some of that.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch back on, you're talking about finishing that SG Computron combiner, like the laundry list of stuff Make Toys hasn't finished. Like, like that, especially now that since it looks like they're probably not even going to finish their cone heads. And I know for the longest time, Make Toys was also linked to Fans Project, who never finished their Jazai Toys designs for their headmasters. Get the first several of those, and it's just like died off. So what we need is a third party to finish the collections the third party's not finishing.
Fans Project actually released like all the major headmasters except for Hardhead, right? Yep. I think it was the only one, which just kills and then Toy World released a Hardhead, and it's not good. I don't know. I don't like that one. So.
And then Make Toys released Hardhead and Chrome Dome in like a Masterpiece style, and that's it.
Yeah.
They got the designs for the other two.
There's renders,
but they're probably not going to happen.
I saw there's a prototype, Rob. There's a definite prototype out there.
Well, I know we've seen. Well, I guess I never saw the prototype. I saw the designs because they announced them at like TFCon and had pictures up, but seems to have whittled away into nothing. If Make Toys can't even get their cone heads out, I don't think anything else has any chance unless a different company picks it up and runs with it.
No. Yeah, that whole thing is, yeah. It's too bad. I mean, I really like Make Toys, like the stuff that they were doing, but
You're muted, Paul.
Good.
But no,
Paul's a
it's
hater.
like Paul was saying earlier. It's like there's no rules to third party.
Yeah, I got nothing nice to say to these guys that are like, "Hey, we're gonna do this, and then they don't, because they can't, because they didn't know what they were doing. Like someone we probably all want to say his name, but we're not going to.
Me,
Rick Alvarez of Play With This Too. That was supposed to produce us on third.
oh my god!
He's obviously not coming back now. So
yeah,
he said his computer.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna do it. I was gonna drop it on him, but he's not coming back, so I'm just gonna have to do it in his absence.
Oh,
that's different though. That was a Kickstarter. That's like, there's no
third party. That was third party.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're not promising something. They're not whetting your appetite and then changing their mind when oh shit. They're not taking the risks that you have to take to get success.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we look back at all the stuff third party has done, though, like I named 3 things that were kind of not complete. I don't think there's a whole lot more. If we look at the whole breadth of thing and how many companies and sub companies and sublines they've made, they've really fleshed out a lot of stuff. FunPub didn't finish stuff, and that was official. There's a couple of things where like they did half of a team or half of a set, and it's like,
yeah, but he didn't show you what they were gonna do, and then change your mind. Sorry.
No, but there's always
except when they got the rug pulled out from under them, and then it's like a smorgasbord of stuff that you're never gonna get. Like, thanks.
Here's some more Photoshops I made last night. Would have been BotCon 2030.
Yeah.
It's news. Just throwing some shade. But I'm waiting to see if we bite our tongue when Hasbro doesn't finish these goddamn MicroMaster sets. I swear to God. If they leave me with this pile of half-finished sets.
Well,
what do you mean? How is it half-finished set? Like, it's Bumblebee.
No, the MicroMaster sets.
Oh, the MicroMaster. Sorry, I was still thinking Masterpiece. So that's just mini bots. Never mind.
Masterpiece. There's a new idea right there.
But yeah,
I won't be surprised if they don't complete them. I will not be shocked.
I will be happy if we can get Erector. We need a new Erector.
I think this is as close as you're getting. Is their Ironworks base with their, I don't know what they called him.
Honestly, I could see maybe some kind of retool.
Maybe.
They like to
look in my magic ball. I can't.
Me personally, I've never really got into the whole third party thing. I've not really jumped on that train. Many years ago, I had there was an add-on kit to the G1 Prime that had like the rocket pack and the axe and a matrix, articulate fists, and then later on at one of the SligaCons, I think it was 2013, I picked up, there was the third party Slam Dance and Squawk Box in both the regular and the Mega Toy Fan exclusive redeco. It's like a shattered glass.
Yeah.
But that's the furthest I've got into it. And several of the issues that you guys have pointed out so far as I've been listening have been some of the reasons why, in addition to my limited budget, I've not joined in with that. I mean, when it all boils down, I want to support the official brand and the official product, because that's what's going to ultimately perpetuate things. But also, having different companies do multiples of the same figure, like there's like 13 different Devastators or Bruticus's or whatever. I don't know what is the plural of Bruticus? Bruticai? Is that
Bruticus?
That sounds like an agreeable term. But at the same time,
we'll allow it.
The Headmasters, only releasing a partial team, or and then different companies have things in different scale, or one will be tune accurate, another will be IDW accurate, and
Uh-oh. We lost Jim.
We-
I think his mic ran out of battery. You could hear it like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, your mic's...
that's not good.
Oh,
You're
now you're
back.
back.
Oh, now you're back.
Were you sitting on the volume?
No, it's built into the webcam.
Oh.
Weird. I was
You're-
getting some feedback there for a moment, but that seems to have dissipated. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, no, you'll have these different companies. They'll be releasing, G1 ad nauseum, combiners ad nauseum. With no end in sight. Like Paul was saying earlier, there's no rule, and therefore no way to really navigate or limit yourself. Here lately, my focus has been on.
We lost Jim again.
Yeah, sorry, we lost you, man. I love it. It's like, my focus has been on...
Screw on my saying.
You're fine now. It's like if you talk for a while, it just dies off.
Instead of Robo Jim, we get
Yeah.
Silent Jim.
Yeah.
That one's for Anna.
No relation to Silent Bob.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a case of, as we mentioned earlier, third party rises because Hasbro's not doing it. If Hasbro doesn't do stuff like finish the MicroMaster teams, then third party will see that as an opening, and then they might do it, and that keeps them going. Like I don't think they're going to make this, the rest of this team, but I could totally see third party, especially the Legend makers, chucking out some little figures.
Is that better?
I mean, you always come back fine, Jim. I don't know, it just dies off there, but
I switched on the automatic thing on Skype.
Says your comments are redacted.
Nice.
Hasbro keeps coming in here. Doesn't like this conversation. Keeps
Yeah,
axing members.
exactly. You saw what happened to Rick earlier.
No, I missed that. I was working on some other stuff.
his audio cut out right as he started to talk about working at Hasbro.
Nice.
It was comedic timing. It was great.
Yeah.
But no, like I was saying, it's like my focus as of late has been on the studio series, and you've got deluxes that are $20 a pop, leaders that are almost $50 a pop.
Unless there's pricing errors on Target.
Huh?
Unless there's pricing errors on Target, and then they're 30 if you're quick.
That's true, and I missed that by about 8 minutes.
Oh, that sucks.
The order sold out. I'm waiting on it to go back up so I could try to snag it before they fix the price on that overload, because that was a pretty sweet mistake. And they're going to have to honor it.
Yeah, they'll honor it.
Yeah.
They don't have to, but they're going to.
Oh yeah, then I'll end up with a bunch of canceled orders. But no, I'm looking at things like the Studio Series Devastator we're finally getting, right? Okay, it's got all three modes, which we hadn't had previously with the Revenge of the Fallen. But now at the same time, there's also this one third party called what's it, Devil Savior or something like that I've been seeing.
Yeah, that's making it's a more collector item.
Right. And just looking at the images I've seen of it, it almost looks unnecessarily complicated. Because, the Studio Series figures I've had so far, they have, most of them insane transformations. Articulation is wonderful on almost all of these. And the detail, it's got amazing detail. I'm looking at Blackout right now, and I'm just amazed. Still. And I'm a Devil Savior, and I'm seeing all kinds of Ghibli bits. The jaw can hi. But the jaw can split. It's like, yeah, it did it in the movie, but why do it in the toy? That's just going to be more parts.
It sounds like you're taking a cue from a recent episode of TF Talk News. Because that was covered by Mr. Starscream as well. So it seems like you must be a fan.
I think it's one of those. I think the Studio Series Devastator, it's the one I'm buying as well. I really like it. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be fun. But I in no way think that it's perfect, and I think whatever that third party one is looks like it's going to blow it out of the water from a display piece point of view, because it has so much paint and detail in it, but it's also going to be a lot more intricate. And my interest in the movie line is such that I'm content with Studio Series. For G1, I'm not content with Siege stuff. I want Masterpiece.
Well, as far as official product for G1 stuff, they keep hammering it over and over. We had Prime Wars trilogy, we had classics, we had now we've got Earthrise and Siege. Where we've got two Megatrons, in the Voyager class that are not too different from one another. And it's like it's almost getting tiresome. It's like, yes, we love G1. It has a special place in our heart. It always will. But when are we getting Landcross? When are we getting Victory Saber? Some of these others, Grandus, for crying out loud. Give us a Grandus so that we can just set over sideways, and that's its transformation.
I think there's some definite G1 rehash fatigue going on.
Absolutely. And then you put third party on top of that, and then multiply that by the number of third party companies.
I mean, I think
the only Siege figures I bought that weren't gifts were the weaponizers, like Cog and that. That's it. I didn't pick up the Sideswipe. I didn't pick up the Blue Streak. The Soundwave. It didn't interest me, which is insane because that Soundwave can turn into the lamppost.
Yeah.
And I still don't want it. It's just I'm G1 burned out. Right now all of my Prime Wars trilogy is in totes in my garage. I am still on the fence about that combiner there.
I mean, I think the thing is, at the end of the day, that everybody is trying to figure out what's the next thing, with third party. Like, they're all trying to figure that out, like, what's past G1, but G1 is the biggest... G1 is the biggest piece of the pie, and so anything else that they're going to be doing, like, they're taking a risk on. So I think you've seen, like, Banana Force, I know, is released a couple figures that are...
I'm sorry, what?
That's what it's called, Banana Force.
Banana Force.
It's Unicron trilogy figures that they're doing, and then there's other ones that are getting into the movie Masterpiece and things like that. But like a lot of those figures ended up failing. Like I think the movie Masterpiece has been the third party or whatever has been pretty successful, but I think a lot of those other ones where they've tried to get into other later lines like Prime or Unicron trilogy just is not sold well at all.
Well,
I think Prime. It might be a little early right now, but I think Prime has a serious base.
That's only been about a decade.
When I listed some stuff on eBay and I was like, man, I bet this Prime stuff sells quick, and it is all just flown. At TFCon, my Prime stuff sold. I saw people cosplaying it from Prime, like lots of people.
A lot of Prime cosplay.
Well, most of them have human proportions.
Yeah.
That's true. They do actually lend themselves better to cosplay. Like this would be terribly hard to cosplay.
Yeah, that's. I mean, those are nowhere nearly as blocky as like say that combiner right there.
Stylistically, all these lines you're mentioning are different, but they're all very much G1 lines. It's Optimus Prime versus Megatron, Autobots, Decepticons, all the same.
There's
cast.
A Bumblebee.
Yeah, it's
except now
everything is G1. The whole Unicron trilogy, that's G1. It's Unicron. He's not a new guy that you never heard of. Sideways
I don't think Unicron trilogy is G1 at all. Like, it has the names Optimus Prime and Megatron. It's like, oh, there's a Jetfire. But it's like, there's a ton of unique characters in Unicron trilogy. More than
G1 cameos.
It's still the same formula over and over and over.
It's the formula, but it's not the same characters. And I think a lot of them have introduced their own new characters or new takes on the characters. But I feel like Unicron trilogy was like a lot of new characters, or they were the same in name only.
I just want to say, were I to be in charge of any kind of a third party endeavor, I would target Car Robots, Robots in Disguise, 2001. You got Team Bullet Train. I guarantee you, people would go after that one. I don't know. Landfill would probably do okay. I don't know so much about the Ruination because of all the different Bruticai out there, but then you could end up with, they could go into the toy only RID. They could do Bludgeon and things like that. They could do Spy Changers. When's the last time we got Spy Changer characters, but with articulation?
I think the
We need
tough
some
thing
more
is,
colored trucks.
I think the tough thing is that a lot of the fandom wants collections, not pieces, and so even though certain people like who, that want just certain pieces in their collection and
Or that
want
one person
everything
that
to
wants
be
Calculation King.
like there's a handful of those.
To someone in the chat said they had it. That it happened.
There's
real.
a
Internet,
handful of
they're
collectors,
lying.
but I think a lot of them want to have a complete X collection. So whether or not that's a masterpiece collection or a movie collection, whatever it may be, they want to complete something. So I think that it just drives them nuts if you get one figure. And so they don't know. And again, some of the things that third party has done, like Fans Project, where they've released everything except for Hardhead, and then you're like, gosh darn it, by the end of this, these years or whatever, you're one figure short of your stupid collection. So I think that's the thing that kind of can hold people back, that they wait, but then because they wait on the figures to see how many more they do, the third party company is not going to keep selling it because it's not popular, because of that.
Timing is everything.
Well, if there were any series that would have any kind of hope of helping me to jump on the third-party bandwagon, I think it would be RID. It is a more limited line with fewer figures than, say, the whole Armada trilogy or something. It would cater to the fans of Beast Wars because you've got the Predacons in there, and you have the potential for redecos into more Beast War accurate versions using those same figures. Plus, it would cater to those who love, Truck Nut Monkey.
I mean, I feel like
you have Fire Convoy, possibly another Fort Max third party thing.
I think that the Unicron trilogy at this point, it has more fans that I know of than Car Robots does, and the couple of third party figures that have tried to do a thing haven't gone so well. Make Toys made their Starscream based off that, which everyone said was a phenomenal figure, and still almost no one bought it.
Yeah.
And
cheap.
then that guy was trying to do the
There was a problem with that toy though. There was a release issue. Remember, got canceled.
They pulled it because they said there wasn't enough pre-orders, and then enough people yelled. And they were like, "Okay, we'll go ahead and do a run of it." And then, like Anna said, it still didn't do.
And then it went on deep discount. But part of it too was they released another Starscream at the exact same freaking time,
the G1 masterpiece,
which was stupid. Yeah. So obviously that the G1 one overshadowed it because it was still a better figure than the Cybertron one. I mean, it just was. So
they were both great though.
They're both really good figures, but if I only have X number of dollars and I want to get a Starscream, I'm gonna get the G1 one or whatever.
The third party infighting is funny enough. Don't infight with yourself.
With yourself.
Space out a bit.
So one thing we haven't touched on, and now that I feel like we have the resident Legends expert here, we need to touch on third party Legends because we haven't talked. We've been going on and on about Masterpiece.
None of us buy it.
But right, so now that Anna's here and Paul, there you go. You've been trashing third party half the show, and then you show off your third party Legends there.
Yeah, I buy some stuff once in a while.
But if Hasbro made it, if they made small Star, well, I don't know, Starscream's a special case with you. You'd probably buy it anyways, even if Hasbro was making small Starscreams.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, third party, though, why they get into it is because Hasbro's not doing it. They're not filling that gap in their collection, They're not making
Well,
an
here-
entire run of the small G1.
Here's how much I hate third party. I only buy one of them.
That's a lie, though. You have multiples.
Yeah, as I say, don't you have a Magic Square one too?
You have
I only,
two
only
Legend
got,
Star
only got
Streams.
one of these. Only
Yeah,
one.
you have one of that figure. That's true. You also have
Ah.
another Legend Star Scream.
I only bought one of these.
Oh, you
Didn't
mean
even-
instead of
There you
like
go.
keeping
Didn't
one
even
sealed?
keep one in the box. That's how much disrespect I have.
You don't even have one in the bin.
There's no
There
third
you
party
go.
bin. Actually, I keep my boxes for third party stuff, so I do have a bin.
I keep them for the masterpiece stuff these days. I used to not, but I keep them now just because I know, I'm like, man, Takara might do it someday, and they sell a lot easier if you got the box with them.
You really do.
They do.
Yeah.
So about Legends, I honestly don't know how Legends caught on. Like, I actually don't know where that came from. Where it was just like one day, these companies were like, hey, let's go ahead and make things that are pretty complicated and pretty fancy, make them really small and a little bit cheaper, and see if people buy them. So really not that much cheaper.
So I think what happened
idea.
is that you have a lot of people that got sick of like the complicated transformations on like the larger masterpiece figures. You know, they're like collecting all these fans toys figures, and they're like, God, I just don't want to transform this stuff, right? And then all these little Iron Factory and DX9 figures come out. You know,
Yeah.
tiny ones, and they were all pretty cheap at the time. Like when they first started coming out, I think they're like $20 a pop or whatever. And so people are like, "Oh, this is so great! It has the articulation that the Hasbro figures don't have. It has paint, you know, yada yada." And so I think that that's really where people got into it. Is that all of these high end collectors like weren't collecting Hasbro at all. Like, just it wasn't even on the radar. And so that Hasbro niche, kind of like just a fun pick up and fiddle with thing, was filled by those Legends.
I think the Legends really blew up when most companies, like Chug, died because Hasbro was doing it. I think that's what killed the Chug 3P on the whole.
Probably.
And then, you know, a lot of people went Masterpiece. And so they're like, where can we go? We can go smaller, and it'll be still affordable, and we can rehash G1 again. Where can we tap that G1 well? Like if somebody was going to go hog wild with like 3P Legend style Beast Wars, that would interest me. But all we've seen is like one or two figures, like
Yeah, there's just a couple.
and I'm like, it's just what Lucas was talking about like 15 minutes ago. You know, like some people are like, well, I'll wait to see if they're really going to go into the line or not. You know, if Hasbro was doing a line, they'd be more likely that, okay, you know, they're going to probably at least do a few waves. So I know I'll get like a cool cast together. You know, maybe I can get my show season 1, season 2, and I'll be happy. But third party, you don't have that. And so I'm sitting on the sidelines, which means they'll be like, oh, sales aren't there, and then they'll quit.
I think personally that Legends does its best when it does something that other sizes can't really do. And I think that's why I really fell for Magic Square when they started putting out figures, because they, like, by making a reasonably complex figure with good articulation, they get closer to the Sunbow animation models than actual MP does. Like, because they're simple. They're horribly simple. They're faded. They look like ugly animation models from the 1980s. And that's why I like them, because they hit something that, like, G1 Masterpiece is never going to hit, because they're going to become overly complicated and complex and try to be perfect and all that fancy stuff. And that's just like, I think I'm tired of it. So that's why I got into Legends.
Do you care about transforming your toys? Like, do they need
Yeah.
to transform?
They do.
Okay. I was going to say,
It
like,
needs to be not painful, and it needs to fit into my life where I don't have a whole lot of time usually.
I was just going to mention the Super 7 reaction line. Like, because those look like they walked off the screen, but, you know, they're very simple toys. You know,
They have
and
no
don't
articulation,
transform,
though,
obviously.
is the problem.
No.
That
No,
won't
that's what I was just-
work. You can't put it in an antipose.
Yeah, the animation models they pose, right? They did stuff. They did all kinds of really silly stuff, so they need to have pretty good articulation. And again, that's why I like Magic Square, and that's why I don't really get into New Age stuff, because New Age feels like it's just trying to be Masterpiece, but it's little and limited and gappy and kind of gross looking in
I feel
robot
like-
mode.
I feel like 3P's repeating the mistakes of the past again, where now that the Legend scene in 3P has blown up, now they're fighting each other again. Like, let's both do Seekers.
And that's not
All the
good.
Seekers. So it's like, come on, guys. And now some of those are getting expensive again too. Like the price savings are kind of disappearing.
No, I mean that's the thing that's tough is so now the like the new age those Seekers and like the Megatron, I think what were those like $50 or $60, something like that? It's like $50. Like it's literally getting to the point where it almost costs as much as the Masterpiece cards did for me. Like when I first got into Masterpiece, like I think those were like 65 or something.
Those
like
were
that
so underpriced though.
when I was.
But yeah, they were so good.
Yeah, but like but that's the thing is like I feel like what blows me away about like New Age and some of those is some of the engineering that they can put at that scale. Like literally it reminds you of like when you get the New Age Jazz or the Megatron or the Starscream, whatever, where it's like they shrunk down some of those Masterpiece figures and have similar like but easier transformations in a small size, and it just kind of blows you away. You're like, how did they do this?
They're impressive. Cool. They're just not always for me. But that's the thing, like, when third party was first getting big, right? Like, when they were doing what you guys call chug third party, which I don't think third party can possibly do chug because part of chug is being cheap, so therefore it's impossible. Like, those figures just pushed me away so bad. Like, when those Fans Project Headmasters were coming out, and they looked so great to me. Like, they're some of my favorite figures on my shelf now. But at the time, it was just, like, that 100 to 100-plus price point was just, like, too intense for me.
Is that like,
I could not do that.
You mean like the Fans Project Code? Those were over $100 each?
No, they were 80.
They were around that. Okay, so they were about 80. They were just it just pushed me out, right? Like that I could not do. And now I've bought most of them for around $30 a piece at this point because they've got on clearance so hard and they get sold used so cheap.
I think if they'd finished the line, I don't think they would have gotten clearance that hard. But once people realized they weren't going to finish it, I think they were like, and then the Skull Cruncher wasn't that good because they designed it more for the Optimus Prime repaint instead of Skull Cruncher.
Yeah.
It's still a fun toy.
I didn't get about...
I have that.
I just find... I did not understand how people called that era of third-party toys chug, though. Because when I look at those Headmasters, beside the Titans Returns Headmasters that we got, there's, like, no comparisons. They're so much more interesting than those Titans Returns guys. And, I mean, they're a lot more expensive, too. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I think it's chug. Anything that's not Masterpiece, but like your normal figures are like that typical deluxe-ish size scale. I think that's just where it goes. It's for lack of anything else.
I get that.
I actually think that the Fans Project figures actually go pretty well with the new, like the Siege figures. Ironically,
they don't look bad side by side.
No, they don't fit in at all. You need to take your thumb, put it in some silver paint, and then push it on there in random spots. Then they will fit in great with them.
Perfect. Just ruin them. Then you drop their value from like 40% retail to like 4% retail.
Well, and unfortunately now the new one, the Earthrise is back to G1, so now that one doesn't fit in with that. So
I'm going to propose a new topic for a future episode. I want to have a funeral for the term chug. And I want to have candles, and I want to have a gravestone, and I want everyone to come and wear black, and we can put that shit to bed because I hate it.
Dude, I fought
So
that
what
term
is the new
for
term?
years.
Do you want to call generations?
Yeah, it's just generations. I mean, that's part of the acronym.
Yeah.
It's so outdated, and it just sounds so gross. And we can all chug a 40, and that can be the end of the thing, okay? We can actually do the chug. We can chug, and then we can say bye.
Should we do it at TF?
I hated the term chug until I realized how much everyone else hated it. Then it got amusing. So I actually kind of like it now.
Damn you, contrary Anna. Why? I never should open my mouth.
Hey, are we going to do a podcast from TFCon? If so, we can chug for chug on the podcast at TFCon.
Please.
Well, apparently now I'm going to TFCon myself, so...
Yeah, I think... The amount of cast going just doubled over like the past day or two because of playing price is dropping so much for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I'm getting a ride with Mr. Starscream. He's
Yeah,
taking me down.
I feel like this probably isn't the most reasonable thing to do at this time, but, whatever.
It's
Wash your
totally a
hands,
bad idea.
Touch your face.
So I'm bringing my kids with me, unfortunately, and so
Gross.
they're little germ factories, and
The worst.
So
No
yeah. So
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because the one we had last year, you were just you. Oh man.
The fall one, so the spring one that none of you guys went to, that was over in LA, I actually did a Disney trip. And so then this year we're gonna do a Universal trip since it's right there and whatnot.
Let's go. There's not going to be any lines. We could all go on every ride.
I'm expecting to, so I already got my tickets. I got 4-day passes or whatever to Universal, so good to go.
Oh, intense.
Voila.
Yep. So, but yeah, back to third party. So, like, where do you guys think that third party is gonna, be here, like, in a couple years? Like, and what are you hoping to see at TFCon, here in a couple weeks?
So something interesting's happened to third party relatively recently, since like MP44 and his brood of recent MPs, is that third party masterpiece style has actually gotten cheaper than first party masterpiece style. And I think for a lot of people, that's really going to mean that they're like really looking to the third party stuff now. So I could see third party continuing to be competitive in the masterpiece market just because the price hasn't gone to catch up to Hasbro yet, or Hasbro and Takara. Now, if it does, then I don't think they'll be competitive. But if they stay where they are, where you're getting like the prices that we used to have for MP from third-party stuff, I could really see it being very competitive.
I don't think it's going anywhere. I think what we're going to see is, like, obviously they're going to continue to flesh out combiners. And I think we're going to see them stick not with non-show characters, but I think they're going to start getting into the other series. Like, I think we're going to see more like Headmasters, Victory, and Master Force characters. And I think we're going to see more of that. And I think they're going to start competing in those spaces and fleshing out those areas of the lines. And, like, I'm super excited for more cartoon accurate Master Force stuff. And if Takara dips his toes into it, that'd be great too. And we're already starting to see a little of it. Just a taste, but I think that's where it's going to go. And then we're going to see that ridiculous Fans Toys Fort Max. That is just.
That's going to be pretty amazing.
I can't even. And so I'm hoping we see some updates on that at TFCon. I'm hoping next Transbot shows some stuff. Yeah, that's is that Victory technically?
Yeah, Victory.
Yeah.
I think the future depends 1,000% on what Hasbro does first, because that's what third party's good at, is doing what they do after they've done it.
Third party drove some of what Hasbro decided to do later.
So too.
But I think there probably was.
We finally got the Quintesson Judge. We got the Alicon. I mean,
yeah.
I am curious though on some of the designs where third party released stuff like a year before Hasbro or before Takara, like Masterpiece. I really am curious, like, if they got a lead on, like, oh yeah, Takara's going to release this, like, let's release this first.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Because they could do it faster.
Like, even though I completely disagree with Paul on this, the one thing I think that could help is, like, if Takara is doing Masterpiece Raiden, which, they've kind of said they are, but not sure. Maybe they didn't show anything.
It's ambiguous.
Yeah, if it comes out that is just a straight up Masterpiece Raiden, I think third party will, like, jump in feet first on doing other stuff from that series to flesh it out.
That'd be great.
We got Victory Saber, but that's it. Like, we had KFC had to give us Victory, or to give us Leo. So I think that's what will happen. So we'll see some. And X-Transbots have been talking about Desirus for years anyways. They've never showed anything, but they said they wanted to do it. I think it'll help speed up some of that. We're already getting 2 other Desiruses that fit different aesthetics.
Hasbro just opened the door and made it okay for third-party companies to make parts formers with weaponizers. So I'm expecting to see that soon. It's cool to piss your pants.
Everybody pees their pants.
I think
we got
that
back in powerful combiners with the fallen third party.
I think we've already kind of seen, and I think we're going to continue to see, where you've got the Kings, the Fans Toys, the KFC X Transbots and MMC,
DX9.
but you're going to see those. But then I think you're also going to see a lot of new companies, like, because we've already seen that, where there's just a lot of like designers kind of releasing their own thing, or companies releasing their own thing, just to try to see what niche they can fill, with some of these, and they can do things a little bit cheaper than other ones too. So.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Studio 02 is going to bring us, and Studio 03 and 069 and all those.
Well, what
cool
about
companies.
like Lemon Tree? I think is like a new one too, right? Where you're like
Lemon Party.
Yeah.
It's like where?
I got my wife with that joke a couple of election cycles ago. I was like, yeah, I'm thinking of voting for that Lemon Party candidate. She's like, who? I was like, yeah, go check them out, lemonparty.org. Don't go to that website, anybody, if you don't know the joke. And then I just hear this, scream, and I was just like,
I'm going to vote for Goat SE.
So I don't want to give Paul credit for his opinions on third party. However, I will say that if Takara or Hasbro, or whichever one, or both, or together, whatever, release that write-in, that's really going to change things, because it's been a very long time that we've thought that you can only get fancy combiners from third party. That's been like the niche place. It's like, if you want a fancy, any name combiner here, you have to go third party, whether it's spending, $300-$400 on one of the MP level ones, or taking one of the chug ones and spending $100 on, upgrades for it. Whichever way, you have to go third party for it. So that write-in would really change things, because then people would start to think like, ooh, do I really need to hold on to this, third party combiner, or can I start to think there's going to be a first party one? Are we going to get Defensor? And no one's thinking that right now. It's just like, we're not going to get Defensor. We're not going to get Minosaur. We're going to leave our third party ones. So that would be a big
change. From Hasbro, and it's in chug style, and it's through selects. I'm looking forward to that release because I love Piranacon. But like,
so excited.
Why is it such pulling
so
teeth?
Amazing. Oh.
It's so hard to watch you guys get crazy for that thing, because it's just so like.
Man, it's going to be so good. So much better than Calculation King.
It's putting beautiful paint on turds that I just don't get it.
So
like,
those
just molds are not very good.
Do you sleep with Calculation King sometimes?
Just a few times. Just that I need an extra friend.
I love that toy.
Calculation King is the best. There are two versions. I really should own the white one. I really should. They should be best friends. They should hold hands.
They could be friends. Yes, he needs a friend.
They could be.
They're not alive.
Well, of course not. The lights are on.
So what I was gonna say is what I'm looking forward to at TFCon is any of the new reveals from Mastermind Creations, because that is the third party that I still collect and that I enjoy and looks awesome, and Hasbro's not doing it, and so it will fit in with the rest of my chug collection. Or would you call them Chuckster piece, Paul?
Like Chuckster piece.
I'm not even gonna spend mental energy on that question.
I suspect we'll see more of Chrome Dome and Rewind. It'd be curious to see who's coming next. But honestly, I still got the shelf space out for the last two members of the DJD, so I know they got plenty to working on. Wrong announcement.
They actually released a. One of the DJD guys is coming out next month, I think, April. I think.
Well, they were supposed to be, but then Corona hit, so who knows?
Well, they said even with Corona,
really?
They released an updated schedule, it was a couple days ago.
Okay.
So, I mean, like, again, Matt, these dates or whatever, they never hit them. So it's like the new estimated dates are off too, but it's coming at some point soon.
You know what I'm hoping for from TFCon that I'm not going to? Is to finally see like some sort of pseudo-finished version in pictures from my dear friends who are going to send them to me of that Magic Square Minosaur that's been coming for like 40, 50 years now. And I've been wanting it for so long. I really want to see some like pseudo-finished pictures of that. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Dude, you know that it's just going to be some like random pictures on a third-party slide.
No, it's like, just going to pop up one day. One day, I'm just going to wake up in the morning and people are going to be like, did you see you could pre-order this thing, or you could order this thing that's $300 and tiny and made of cars? And then there I'll go. I'll spend that much and I'll regret it for the rest of my days. It's great. Very excited for it. Unless we get a Minosaur made in the style of Calculation King. Then screw that Magic Square crap.
What will be the name of that magnificent specimen? Road King's already taken, right?
I know, it is, pretty much.
King of the Road?
I have to think really hard about this. Because I just keep going to Car King. That sounds so stupid.
Okay, well, I think we've probably gone down like a zillion rat holes now.
I do.
And,
I mean, we went to Lemon Party, so, you know.
Yeah. So, first we had Jim in.
Lemon Party Canada. Blue waffles for everybody.
Oh, God.
Are we doing final thoughts?
Don't Google that either. Jesus Christ. Like.
Final thoughts right here.
So we probably should wrap this one up, I guess, here.
I just getting grosser.
Hey, I just thought of something. That Masterpiece Ryan, that is confirmed to be a masterpiece specifically, right?
That's as best we can tell. We don't have anything confirmed.
Okay, so Takara hasn't actually used the term masterpiece with it.
We think they did, maybe, but it's kind of in translation, so we don't know.
At worst, Jim, it's going to be 6 trains that look exactly like the trains they're supposed to be.
Well, sure.
But they're model trains.
But
that's the worst.
Though, if that's the case, Takara and Hasbro have never done a masterpiece combiner in any other masterpiece line. They've done Beast Wars, they did G1. I mean, the closest we've got would be like maybe Combiner Wars Devastator or something like that. But even then, that's not been declared, specifically masterpiece.
No, I mean that's what Anna was saying. That's why it's such a game changer if they do it.
Right.
Huge game changer.
I'm a little slow to the take processing. You don't suppose then maybe we could see an official Masterpiece Devastator, an official Masterpiece Bruticus.
I think one day, maybe.
Yeah. Because then what are we going to do with all 17 of the third-party ones?
Well, I mean, we have to get up to MP 710 before they can actually say it's done, if they want to finish it, because they've already got MP 711. So there's lots of room there.
Yeah, but then you've got the Plus and, all the different variations, the Toon Accurate, the Toy Accurate.
Lots of options.
MP 711 Plus.
Is it going to have the head blaster or not have the head blaster? Drills for hands.
All the above.
All right. Well, are there any other final thoughts besides that?
I want to give some, but I'm worried I'll go on like a 10-minute rant. And
yes, 10-minute rant. Let's
No,
go,
no,
Paul.
Please
yes,
no, please no.
Rob doesn't want this.
No, but yeah,
I'm okay with the rant, just
quick
not 10 more minutes.
How about a 2-minute rant?
Well,
2-minute
I guess third party is cool because it's like a creative outlet for a lot of people that probably wouldn't get a chance to do this 3D modeling stuff and make toys and all that. It's a cool creative outlet, but they're just rehashing someone else's, a brand that someone else has spent millions and millions of dollars perpetuating over the past 30 years that they're just piggybacking off of. I just don't think that's cool. And I wish that it stayed kind of in the garage when it was like upgrade kits, because that was awesome. Like that supports the brand directly. to have those kind of items.
It inflates.
And there's still
prices.
like Dr. Wu. Dr. Wu is still out there. The Shapeways, all that stuff is really cool. But it's when people are trying to make a buck off of it, it gets tricky. And it's a bit hypocritical for me to say because of my history as far as brands go and stuff. But it's just, I don't know, Transformers is near and dear to me like it is for all of us. And I think of it a little differently than some other people. I just don't. It's not. I love it, but it's not mine. It's something I can enjoy from afar. But when you're to start making toys that you just think the world deserves, like that's not how licensing works. And you're not supposed to be able to do this stuff. So you're getting away with it and you're doing cool stuff. So kudos, but the hammer can drop any day.
But the thing is I think, to me, I actually think it's kind of neat that it's somewhat allowed. I mean, like Hasbro could drop the hammer and go after these guys, but they don't. Disney does that, like for all their properties. But I think it's actually cool, and I think it makes for a better, more diverse, interesting community overall.
It really does.
Than, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think, like, the Star Wars community or the Marvel collecting community and some of that, I just don't think is as fun, to me at least, as the Transformers community. I mean, there's, like, a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there. There's all these different message boards and whatnot. And so I don't think, the overall, like, amount of fandom may not necessarily be the same size as some of those other properties, but it's still a very active community, and I think that part of that has been because of third party, and it's gotten a lot of adult collectors into, this fandom that wouldn't necessarily otherwise be. And I don't necessarily know, like, I don't think it's necessarily helped them, but I don't think it's hurt them that much either. Like, I think it's, I don't think it's killing a lot of their sales at this point. That could always change in the future, who knows? But I think it's helped kind of keep excitement for the brand up. So, I mean, you can agree or disagree, but
I agree with most of what you said.
I think it's more of a symbiotic relationship than it is a parasitic relationship, is kind of what I'm saying.
It's like 80-20.
So yeah, I mean, there's a little bit on there, but I don't know. I mean, for myself, I like it when brands and whatnot, they're allowed to do that. You are allowed to express your creativity, whereas other companies shut that down as soon as they hear it. Whereas Hasbro kind of and Takara kind of allow that a little bit more.
It's a shame that in this day and age, we still, sorry, Anna, we still can't, like big brands still can't figure out how to work the internet. The actual values that the internet has created and the options, they still haven't figured out how to make it work with like fan art and synergy and making money and keeping like small groups happy, and it's not their core audience. Like it's not children, it's not kids like 5 and under. That's Hasbro's core audience, or something like that. I don't know if that's the actual ages, but it's just a shame that they don't just hire someone to like manage niche communities or something like that, and like have some like on a high enough level where they can make financial decisions or have a budget and be like, I'm going to give a license to this guy and see what happens. It's just unfortunate that it's too convoluted. It would be great because then this could all be a little bit more synergistic in a healthy way, more healthy. I'm not saying it's like completely unhealthy. It's obviously helping. So sorry, Anna, go.
I was just gonna say I don't entirely disagree with this Paul guy because using someone else's intellectual property for you to make money is a little shady.
I really like that Porsche Earthrise Cliff Jumper that Hasbro licensed. Oh wait,
I was talking, Rob. But what I wanted to say is that, like, for me, I got back into collecting because I saw all the cool third-party stuff the first time I went to a TF Expo and then TFCon and, all those events. I started seeing the third-party stuff in person. I started thinking it was really cool. But I have to say, like, I was just thinking back a second ago, I always say my first third-party purchase was Fans Project Smart Robin. That's not true. I was buying Robots way before I was buying any of this stuff. If any of you guys remember Robots, that was a
Those are
not
ThrottleBots?
Transform. Nope. They were a not Transformers brand that just put out, a decent amount of figures, decently fast, right before alternators started really coming out. And they were just, for the time, they were really super cool, and they were mostly original designs, and they were just super neat. And that's where I want to be again. Like, I am excited to have something like that again that's a mostly original design that's as good as the other stuff that's coming out these days. And that's really where I wish third party would go. I know it's not going to happen because it's not going to sell well, because, this guy's cheap and people call him a knockoff and everything else, and therefore he's okay. But every time an original design comes out, it doesn't sell very well. So that's where I wish we could go, is back to Robots, more Calculation Keens, that weird crap that Big Firebird's putting out after their weird RC. That stuff is neat because it's original. That's what I want from third party. It's my wish list.
I do have to kind of agree on the Robots idea. There's a buddy of mine, Esquian, on the Allspark. He had a bunch of Robots when I was over at his place one time, and they just blew me away. And this was about that same time period, about time alternators and that was out, for about 15 years ago. It's been a while. I'm old. But they were outstanding, and I seem to remember them coming with a load of accessories, like just a crap ton of accessories each one. And I was pretty impressed with those, but still never jumped on the bandwagon.
So, I do want to mention tomorrow night, check out Microcasters live on the TF Talk Facebook page. We will be reviewing this Starscream guy. I know, right? So make sure to check us out.
You didn't invite me?
The invitation's actually in the mail. I don't know if you
You guys have had like special guests like for the past month.
Well, then why don't you crash the party, Paul?
We just
Tell
decided
us how bad my third-party toys are.
I'm a vampire.
We just decided to do this figure like an hour or two ago, something like that. So it's not like
Yeah, seriously.
we've literally been debating because we have our certain figures we're trying to do and fit in, and then it's like, oh, should we do Lao Convoy? Should we do whatever? Anyway, we're doing Starscream.
That poopy man.
Just at a quick glance, looking at that thing.
Oh my god,
that's the 2006 classic Starscream, right?
Haha.
Yeah.
Wait.
Who's gonna make that joke
Can I see the
tomorrow?
nose cone? Can I see the nose cone?
Oh, Jim.
Oh, that's a 2009 redeco. Okay.
So, so Earthrise Starscream is what we're doing tomorrow night. So check us out.
I don't have that figure, so I'm just going to talk about Calculation Keen. Every time they say something about Starscream, I'm just going to interject, say something completely non sequitur about Calculation Keen. It'll be great.
So maybe we'll have a special guest in addition to Anna, potentially. And so 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Wednesday, are we doing an ouch or are we skipping this week?
Undecided.
Okay.
I have something amazing, Rob, if you want. And I'm not teaching Wednesday night because it's spring break, so I could bring some really, really weird ouching.
I bet it involves royalty and calculators.
It, in fact, doesn't. It's way worse.
Ooh, abacus. Is it an abacus?
I wish.
Hey, I mentioned the Discord in the chat, and they didn't know about it. The viewers, so they asked for the link.
Hey.
So we should probably let everyone know
we have earlier.
Okay, great. We have a Discord server now, so it's just getting up and running. It's kind of haphazard, but join us.
Sometimes
Make
we
fun of
talk.
us.
It's neat.
Yeah, I'll try to put the link. I'm sorry. I said I was going to tweet it out and then I didn't. So I'll actually try to tweet it out. And then Friday, cut the tape again, and I guess also make sure and check out. There's a fresh TF Talk news episode 3 dropped last night as well. So check that out if you haven't. It's a quick, I think like 18 minutes, 13 minutes, something like that. Can't remember how long this week is. But it is a fantastic show done by Mr. Starscream. So
It's shorter than this show, we promise.
yeah, much shorter than this show. So, and actually edited and all that kind of thing. So, anyway, I guess that's it. And if you like us and what we do, consider supporting us on Patreon. Patreon.com/TFYLP. Tiers from $1 on up. So, thank you everyone for joining and participating in the chat. We've got a lot of great participation from Rodimus Supreme, Nero, Ron, Saldrin, if I said that right. Did I miss anyone? I know Don was in the chat earlier. He probably fell asleep about an hour ago. So, but yeah, thank you if I missed anyone. So, all right.
Bye, Calculation King.
Bye.
She keeps waving.
Bye. It's good to be back.